National volunteer organisation Coast Care has spent decades working on better understanding and restoring New Zealand coastlines. For the first time this year, their annual conference was held in Whanganui, giving delegates a chance to see the award-winning restoration work and successful trials undertaken by local Coast Care.
And we planted little Pinau spinifex about this size, and we estimated it covered like maybe 15% of the sand. And now we came back 6 months later, we reckon along here 60% of this is now covered with plants, sand binding native plants, so it's going to hold the sand, you know.
The successful Dune planting trials are another feather in the cap for Whanganui Coast Care. Now support from Te Puaha mean they can make even further progress.
It's really, really neat. So that's the iwi-led group that's talking about developing the port and rebuilding the moulds with Horizons, so the funding is from Horizons.
The iwi-led Te Puaha port development includes Morgan Street Beach, and iwi are following advice of experts, giving the go-ahead to re-establish the dunes.
We're going to plant on the north side of Morgan Street to try and start the process of stopping that blowout that comes right through and blocks the road. Yeah. From an iwi perspective, you put environment first, and so they've invited us from Coast Care to be there and contribute to restorations of dunes, but also a whole lot of other people. So we've got the board riders, we've had Lynn Douglas, who knows the history of Castlecliff backwards and inside out, and so on. Everybody's there at the beginning. Yeah, neat to be part of it.
Morgan Street and Castlecliff Main Beach have been managed by continuous and costly grading for decades, past councils reluctant to rescind car parking and drive on beach access for public.
If you sit down in front of the average council, district council, city council, doesn't really matter. I would say 80% of the councillors you're dealing with will be locked into the historic management thing, and probably 80% of communities. So it's just it's a thing we're going to work through. We're in transition.
Lack of dunes create constant sand shifts that can threaten infrastructure and property, but sustainable dune restoration is not widely understood.
When Pākehā started to arrive in New Zealand, we introduced browsing animals, and the beaches became the first roads. The browsing animals ate all the vegetation, sand started to move, and then people said, we need to do something, and so they imported marram grass from the northern hemisphere.
Exotic plants do bind the dunes, but shape them differently, causing them to build and then collapse. Decades of experience mean Coast Care is in a good position to facilitate dune restoration.
It's quite cool. So we have coastal managers. They tend to be people like council staff members. A few elected members are sometimes interested, and they'll come along, which is good. They have coastal scientists, coastal engineers, I'd like to say. We don't get too many of them, but I wish more would come. And people that are really passionate about their beach and their coast. So, beach communities are special entities in New Zealand. They do litter cleanups, they do planting programs, they do all sorts of things. Without all that volunteer efforts, it wouldn't be where we are today, especially a place like Castlecliff here. So it's those keen people. Everybody's got their own story about their own beach, and we all come together and share stories and compare notes and find like-minded people.
Georgie Ormond, Local Focus.